video start பண்ணிட்டு நீ பேச ஆரம்பிச்சு ஹெட்ஃபோன் நான்
Good afternoon to everybody. Now we will discuss about the meaning and scope of importance of history. History, often described as the mother or queen of social science. It outdated all other social science. It is the basis of all the subjects of study which are grouped under humanities or social science. It is considered an indispensable subject in providing man's complete education. We are already in the 21st century and expanding new era. Thus, the complex meaning, high quality, purpose of the history requires for the device and rich social foundation of life, whether language, material culture, national identity, or the organization of work and politics, or the fallible inheritance of the resilient human caste. And if the humanity is a pilot the reliable futures, we need to understand through a history how it has achieved the present. This chapter will discuss the meaning, nature, and the scope of history as the subject in general and in this changing scenario in particular. Meaning of history. Very earliest in history, in human society, history was simple narrative account of past event. A word, it entered English language from the French formulation of historia, the Latin notion of history, the Greek construction of history. Each of which represent the basic sense of knowledge of the past. In this early concept, the sense of history encompassed with both an imaginative story of events and narrative or chronicle of the past event. In its early English usages, history and story were generally applied equally to any account of the past, whether of imaginary event or an incident which were held to be a true. Such use of history for imagined or invented event is, of course, a practice which has persistent at diminishing level up to the present. It continues to be imported, especially in imaginative literature such as novel, history. Next one, the next definition, go to definition. The origin of the word history is associated with the Greek word historia, which means information and enquiry designed to elicit truth. History has been defined differently by different scholars. At the juncture, it will be advisable to refer to some of the definition of history given by some of the eminent scholars. History is the study of the human past as it is described in the written document left by the human beings. Here, allocation of more history, definition of Christ. Next one, history. Next definition, go to next definition. History is the narration of the event which have happened among mankind, including an account of the rise and fall of nation, as well as the other great change which have been affected the political and social condition of human race. John Anderson, 1876. Next one definition. History is the record of what one age find worth of a note in the another bucket. The value and the interest of the history depend largely on the degree which is the present eliminating by the past years method. Next one, next definition of history. History is the connected account of the course of event or progress of idea of eruption. History is the story of man's struggle through the ages against nature and element, against wild beasts and the jungles, and some of his own kind who have tried to keep him down and to exploit him for their own benefit. Jawaharlal Nehru. Next one definition of history. History not used is nothing. For all intellectual life is action, like practical life. And if you don't use the stuff well, it is might well be a dead. Arnold Toynbee. Next one definition of history. History is and should be a science. History is not accumulation of events of every kind which happened in the past. It is the science of human society. Science of human society. Fostel, D. Luck. Next one, history is nothing but a pack of tricks we play on the day. Voltaire. Next one, definition of history. Most events of record in the history are more remarkable than the important, like ellipse of the sun and moon, by which all are attracted, but whose effect no one take the trouble to calculate. Henry David Thompson. Teresa. History is it the broad set sense is everything that ever happened. Henry Johnson. History is a veritable mine of life experience, and the youth of today study history that he may profit by the experience of the race. Johnson said. History is continuous process of interaction between the history and it is the fact. It is an unending dialogue between the past and the present. Next one, history definition. We come to the next one, value of history. We go for value of history. First is the view that history is a bunk, often positively harmful, that we should have a little to do with it and we can manage. Next one, value of the history. Such an opinion would be a strong belief that all that matters is the future, that preoccupations with the past can only hold you back, and indeed that lesson learned from the past are highly likely to be wrong and lead to us to the worst mistake in the future. Another one, value of history. Holders of this negative view of the value of history may be, among the other things, point of view, disasters arising from the tendency among the army general to the attempt to be reflight to the battle of failure war while ignoring the opportunity and the danger presented by subsequent advancement in the technology. Next one, another one, value of his scope of history. Scope of history. The most interesting fact about the extent comprehensiveness of history is that today we have here history of art, history of culture, history of civilization, history of religion, history of music, history of geography, history of physics, history of philosophy, history of education, history of biology, history of autumn, history of literature, history of mathematics, and the history of whatnot. Next one, next scope of the history. A learned speaker on political, religious, literary, or any other platform connected with any field of human activity will place before his audience pure and simple history connected with the life and achievement of some past of great human being and nothing else. This mistake scope of history almost limitless. It knows to no end and also speak of the importance of the history as teaching subject in a school and college. While with the passing of the time, the scope of history has been widened and a new area included. History is generally assuming all the three dimensions. It is the main job is to narrate that what happened, to discuss how it is happened, and to analyze why it is happened. It is growing its extent as well. Another one, scope of the history. Purpose of historical inquiry is not simply to present fact, but to search for an interpretation of the past. Historians attempt to find the pattern and establish the meaning through the rigorous study of the document and the artifact and left to the people to other times to the place to place. History, dialogue. Dialogue of the history. He, according to EHR, have held the idea of unending dialogue. According to him, history is an unending dialogue between the present and the past and the in solving as and many controversy relating to the past, even as a possible, and bring them to the focus on the society. He says that historians does not know the past fully, but he can only know the partially. The historian has to use the imaginative powers. Oh, why study of history? People live in the present. They plan for and worry about the future. History, how is the study of the past? Given all the demands that press in from living in the present and anticipating what it is yet to come. Why bothered with what has been? Given all the desirable and available branches of the knowledge. Any subject of study need a justification. It is advocate must explain why is the worth attention. Most widely accepted the subject and history is certainly one of the attracted some people who simply like the information and mode of thought involved, but the audience less spontaneously drawn to the subject and more doubtful about to bother need of what the purpose is. Historians do not perform heart transplantation into the high design and arrest criminals in a society. Useful purpose. Find that those who difficult to define than those of engineering and medicine. History is in fact very useful, actually indispensable, but product of historical study or less tangible, sometimes less immediate than those that stem from some of the other disciplines. Importance of history. fundamental told is beautiful. Many of the historians who most appeal to the general reading public known the importance of dramatic and skillful writing as well as of accuracy. Biography and military history appeal in part because of the tales then contain. History as art and entertainment serves as a real, but also the level of human understanding. Story well done or story that real how the people and society have actually functioned, and they prompt thoughts about the human experience in the other times and places. The same aesthetic and humanistic goal inspired the people to immerse themselves in effort to the reconstruct quite remote past for removed from the immediate present day utility, exploring what historians sometimes call the pastness of the past, the way of people in distant age constructed their lives, involve a sense of beauty and excitement, and ultimately another perspective on the human life and the society. Next one, history provide identity. History also helps provide identity. This is the unquestionable one of the reason all the modern nations encouraged its teaching in some form. Historical data included evidence about how families grew, institutions, and whole countries were formed, and about how they have evolved while retaining their cohesion. For many Americans, study the history of one's own family is the most obvious use of history, for it is provide fact about the genealogy and basis of understanding how the family has interacted with a large historical change. Family identity is established and confirmed. Many institutions, business, communities, and social units such as ethnic group in the United States use of history for similar identity purpose, merely defined the group in the present pale against the possibility of forming an identity based on the rich past. And of course, nation use identity history as well and sometimes abuse it. Historians that tell the national story emphasize the distinguished feature of the national experience or mean to drive home an understanding of national value and a commitment of national loyalty. Next one, we go for ability to access conflicting interpretation. Learning history, meaning learning history means gaining some skill in sort of through device after conflicting interpretation. Understanding how the society worked the central goal, historical study inherently impressive, and the same certainly hold true for the understanding what is going on in the present day. Learning how to identify and evaluate conflicting interpretation is an essential citizenship skill for which history. Next one, conclusion. We come to conclusion. In conclusion, we may quotate Sheikh Ali who wrote, Moreover, history is reflective thought because of the nature of historical material, and history describes the changing pattern humanity activity in several walks of life, and it is not like a science dealing with dead matters which physics, chemistry, biology, and other would study. History events are unique and unclassifiable, unlike natural science like zoology and botany, which classifies each species into group and category. Historical events are not subject to direct observation, unlike all other branches of science, where direct observation, experimentation, verification, and generalization are possible. Thank you.